Consistent self-improvement, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to American gypC podcast. And I am Classic Carpenter, your host, and I'm here with my co-host,
gypC.
Today, we will be having a very special guest on by the name of Larissa Hale, and we're going to give her a call right now.
Hello.
Hey, Larissa.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for accepting our phone call. We are now recording live on American gypC podcast.
Awesome.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. And actually, to tell you guys a little bit about my relationship with Larissa, we go back to Jackson State University. So we're college classmates. I never graduated. She graduated. We basically played in the band together, or in the orchestra together, and she played in the band, but she's going to tell you more about her. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know where I should begin, but I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. When I graduated from high school, I went to Prairie View A&M University for 2 years, and long story short, transferred over to Jackson State, and that's where I spent 15 years living in Jackson, and that's how I met you, Kwame, through mutual friends and getting to know you and working on music and just, you really inspiring me when it came to just having fun recording and just showing me that, it doesn't take much to put on a production with music. And, for me, music has always been in my life as a hobby. It was never something that I saw as a career for myself. It was just something to really just to stay out of trouble. Most people, try to find things to, do, and music was just something that I just enjoyed starting at the age of 8. And, up until now, I never thought that I would have any type of career in it, but I'm very thankful to have been able to do that. And still do things that I love, and having music be a part of that.
So what was your first instrument of choice?
My first instrument of choice, like I said, when I was 8 years old, when I was in 4th grade, it was the alto sax. And what made me choose it was the middle school that I went to here in Chicago. It's a private born-again Christian school called Calvary Academy. And when I was in 4th grade, around 1988, telling my age, which is okay, but the band director was their first year of starting a band, at a young, even starting with 8-year-olds, basically. So it was like a Friday, and they laid out all these instruments, and they were like, here's a bunch of instruments, look at them, go home, and when you come back on Monday, pick the one that you want. So I went home, and I just was watching like Sesame Street or something. And that particular day on that episode of Sesame Street, they were showing how to make the saxophone.
Wow.
So as I was sitting there watching, I was like, I want to play the saxophone. So that Monday I chose the sax and started there. So in 4th grade, I played the saxophone from like 4th grade to then about 7th grade, I started kind of having an interest in the trumpet. So then I switched over to the trumpet from 7th to 8th grade. And then when I got into high school, I went back to the saxophone. And Marian Catholic High School, the high school that I went to, I joined their marching band. And when I started as a freshman, it was like over 300 students in this band. And there were about 20, I think it was like 30 or so saxes, but they were only marching 14. So it was kind of like, as a freshman, you kind of had to stand on the sideline and wait your turn. So I was like, oh man. But one day we were practicing in the band hall, and the way we were set up, the saxophones were in front of the French horns, but I didn't know they were French horns at the time. I just would hear these warm sounding horns behind me that looked like really big trumpets. So I asked the section leader, I was like, what is this? And she was like, it's called a French horn. And I was like, is it the same fingerings as a trumpet? She was like, yeah. And they had, I think, 8 French horns. Well, they're called mellophones. So they were looking for like 2 to 4 more. So I just switched over and was able to continue to march. So I played the French horn. I switched over to that. And then my sophomore year, I I played the saxophone in jazz band, but I stuck to the French horn during the orchestra. So I just continued on like that. And when I got into college at Prairie View, I just continued with French horn, and then I did the sax with the jazz band. I just kind of just continued that. Got to Jackson State. Just I tried to get into the symphonic band. I actually got accepted, but then I had to turn it down because my classes at the time were interfering with their rehearsal time. So I was kind of devastated. So I ended up being in the orchestra playing the French horn. So, and then, you know, just having the keyboard, the piano as a hobby, creating beats, and having a friend of mine who was doing music, and we used to collab. And one day he had a gig at the 930 Blues Cafe and invited me. Met Jackie Bell, who was the person that was the main singer of the club. Saw me and was like, "I want you to be my keyboard player." Joined her with the house band to play with her, and it just continued to on and on and on to, you know, now, you know, playing, just continuing. So I know that was long, but that's kind of the journey of it.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Chicago as a musician, or what was the whole vibe? Because I know Chicago has probably changed a lot since you were born, or at least since you were there as a youngster and the time that you live there now. What was it like then?
Yeah. Well, for me, growing up, what I love about Chicago is that the people, period, they just love good music. They don't necessarily care if you just have a name for yourself. If it's good, they like it, you know, and that's what matters, and that's what I've loved. And, you know, just growing up in a household with parents that, you know, were very musically inclined, like, you know, listening to music, having an old school record player. You know, my mom every Saturday morning cleaning the house, playing Minnie Riperton's Adventures in Paradise, you know, in the morning. And then my stepdad being a huge Broadway musical fan, having all these collections of Broadway musicals every Saturday after we would get home from doing whatever for the day. Every evening, every Saturday evening, he would play, you know, Dreamgirls, Cats, you know, and, you know, would make me even learn the songs, learn the words to these Broadway musicals. And being allowed to experience those Broadway plays, so those types of influences of music kind of definitely influenced me, which is, it's all about just really good music. And going to a Catholic high school that was a private school, you know, I was more so introduced in playing classical music like Stravinsky, Ravel, things like that. And, you know, getting my first taste of jazz, because I really didn't know jazz until I got into my sophomore year of high school playing jazz, and 1 O'Clock Jump being one of my first tunes ever learning to play, and actually learning to improv and all that kind of stuff. So with growing up in Chicago, what's good about music in Chicago is that as long as it's good, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I had a family member there by the name of Phil Coran. There was this Hypnotic Brass was his son's. And I can't remember exactly what area. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Are you familiar with Hypnotic Brass or Phil Coran?
No, I need to check them out.
I can't remember. I don't know the name of, I guess the exact name of his organization or his band, but I have to look into that as well. But he did make a good name for himself around Chicago as well, and a lot of other places as well. He actually invented the Francophone.
The who phone?
The Francophone.
The Francophone.
Yeah.
They call it something else as well.
Yeah, I can't remember what they call it as well. But it's basically you play it with your thumbs, like the little xylophone type of thing that you play with your phone.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
There was something else. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it though. But yeah, he was. The band is awesome. I used to have a CD, but I can't remember the name of the CD.
Okay.
But I'll look into that though later on. But yeah, check out Phil. If you look up Phil Coran or check out Phil Coran, you'll probably see good stuff as far as about.
Yeah, I definitely will. I'll definitely check that out.
So, what made you want to go to Jackson to go to school?
Well, like I said, I was at Prairie View for 2 years. And actually at the time when I was at Prairie View, I was going to study to be a veterinarian because I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, even though I was not necessarily good in science. Science was not my strong subject, but I have been I've grown up with animals like all my life. And one of my first jobs was working at an animal clinic at like 16, and just,
Wow.
working as a kennel clean. Yeah, working as a kennel cleaner and being able to just sit and observe the doctors and things like that. So I always kind of knew that I wanted to be a vet, but I just also knew that I was kind of good in science. I don't know how it was going to work.
Did you know that I did 2 years in PreVet when I was at Jackson State and then changed my major to music? Organic chemistry is basically what booted me on out of there.
I didn't even know Jackson State had a PreVet program. Because when I came to Jackson State, I basically...
It was pre-med, basically, yeah. But yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I was familiar with the pre-med, but yeah. So I was studying there, but like I said, I was kind of struggling with those classes, especially my lecture. I was good at in the lab, like the organic chemistry and all that. When it came to the lab, I was good, but when it came to the lecture, it was kind of kicking my butt. But that's what I wanted to do, and my goal was to go to Purdue. And then I was like, okay, maybe Michigan State. But in my grades, I was like, oh, man, you need at least a 3.5. So luckily, Tuskegee, their veterinary program, they only required you to have a 2.7 to get in. I was like, okay, if I can at least get a 2.7, I have the hands-on experience. So if I can get in with that 2.7, I'll be good. So anyway, time passes, but then there was having financial issues being there. So, the money that I had was, not going to the right places. And when it came to the end of my sophomore year, when it was time to register again for my junior year, it doesn't matter at Prairie View if you owned a penny or $1,000, whatever amount you owed. If you didn't pay it, you couldn't register. So it was all these issues, I couldn't register. So I had the choice of either going back home to Chicago to wait out what was ever going to be, or transfer over to Jackson State, because I had a friend of the family who was going there. And he was like, you can come to Jackson State and kind of just, pick up where you left off. But even as I was getting to that point in my sophomore year, I was like looking at my grades. I was like, okay, I got to do something different. So I was always good at English. So I was like, okay, if it don't work out, I'm just going to major in English and teach English, hopefully college English. So long story short, when I got to Jackson State, I just went on ahead. So I didn't want to go back to Chicago because I didn't want to miss any school, and I was afraid that sitting out, I wouldn't want to go back. So I just wanted to keep the energy going of school and Came to Jackson, changed my complete major to English with a concentration in education, and just wrote out the rest of that, and
So
that's how I got to Jackson State.
You worked with the radio station there, right?
Yeah, when I transferred over to Jackson State, I came to Jackson State in 2001, but I didn't actually get with the radio station until about 2003, because I was just still trying to get the lay of the land and, figuring out what I wanted to do with classes and, just changing my whole, mindset of what I wanted as my career. So, because when I was at Prairie View, the end of my sophomore year, my plan was to, my junior year, go back and join the radio station at Prairie View, because theirs was all about, it was for the students and by the students. So the guy that was there, he was like, when you come back for the next semester, just, holler at me and we'll get started. That never happened. So, got to Jackson State and a few years passed and I hadn't thought about it. But just one day, once I had finally gotten everything kind of under control, I was like, oh yeah, that radio thing. Yeah. So I saw that Jackson State had a radio station, so I went on over there. Bobby Tressel at the time was the program director, and I just told her I actually just went over there because I wanted to learn being an engineer. But Dr. Tressel was like, well, that's fine, but I'm going to put you on the air. I was like, I don't want to be on the air, but had no choice. So it just kind of, went from there.
So what was it like your first few episodes? Were you super nervous? It took you a little time to get into it? Because I know even just this feels like radio, and we're taking a little time to get into it ourselves. So just to get a couple of pointers from you.
Most definitely was nervous. I didn't want to be on the air. I wanted to be the engineer in the background, learning all the behind the scenes stuff. But she was like, that's fine, but we're going to put you on the air. So that's what she did, but she taught me. And, so since I was going to be on there, I would listen to myself. And I was like, I don't like the way I sound, because I didn't want to be on there. because growing up, I was always teased about my voice, like I was always called the squirrel voice and da 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 da.
You
So I
said
was
the
like,
squirrel voice.
yes. So, yeah. So I was always teased of having like a squirrel voice. I was like, I can't be on here sounding like no squirrel. So I just said, what kind of voice do I want to have? And, you don't hear many women that are on air with a low, sexy voice, like the women like Kathleen Turner. She's she's one of my favorite actresses. But what I loved about her is her deep tone, just natural. And so I started listening more to these women that had these low tone, sexy voices. And even one of my favorite movies at the time was Girl 6. And the main character, her name was Lovely. So I was like, that's what I want to sound like. I just wanted, a deep and sexy voice. So I just started to practice being in that tone. Most people work out their bodies. I spent my years working out the voice that I wanted. So when I finally was able to work at Jackson State and work at the radio station and have my students, I began to teach them the same thing. I would make them listen to themselves raw off top, and I would let them judge it themselves. I'm like, if you're riding in the car and you came on with that voice, what would you think about that person? They'd be like, oh, da 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 da. I don't like this. I would change this. I'm like, okay, cool. Go home, think about that. Think about how you want to sound, and then begin to practice that. But don't just practice inside the studio. You have to practice even outside of the studio. So if you're around your friends, if you're around your family, when we're around friends, when we're around family, when we're around different groups of people, we have a different voice for each kind of group.
Right.
So if you are wanting to shape your voice for, basically, making your face for radio, that's why they say the face of radio is your voice. So you have to practice that all the time, no matter who you're around, family, friends, be consistent. That's the only way it's going to develop. So even if you have friends and you start articulating and getting, the being articulate, you may get people to tease you that, oh, you sound all like this. I always told them, take it as a compliment. That's just letting you know the progress that you're making, because you do have to be articulate being on air, so because people don't have your face and then they visualize you based off how you sound. At the same time, you have to be understood and still deliver the message of the song, the facts, whatever you're saying on air needs to come across in a clear and concise way.
Very good tips for us, because we should have called you first before. And my wife actually is on the air as well. gypC is on the air. I forgot to
Awesome.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. So yeah, we're
Wonderful.
both working on our radio voice. So yeah.
Yeah, especially. I've
Go ahead, I'm
actually
sorry.
had a cousin give me a feedback the other day. He's like, you need a little pep in your voice, and I was like, I'm just getting started, and it will pick up as we go, and this is a new role for me. So,
But that is her natural voice as well, though.
but I do want to stay.
And it's a very nice voice.
So.
Yeah, and just know as you get older, just aging will drop your voice naturally. Men, you already kind of have a natural bass in your voice because you speak from your chest. Most women, we speak from our throat and our nasal, so like, oh my God, da da da,
My mom tells me that all the time.
It's up in there, but the older you get, the more it drops into your chest. And that's where the bass comes. That's where the resonation comes. It's almost kind of like, when you sing, it's from the diaphragm, but it's also from the chest. So if you kind of know what you want to sound like, who cares about what people want you to sound like? What's comfortable for you when you listen to yourself, and if you did not know yourself, when you heard yourself, what do you think, and what do you want to expect? What you hear when you're speaking. So once you figure out that, practice that. And then once you practice the sound that you've gotten, then all it is now is just being able to read whatever you're speaking about or whatever you're talking about. It's all of that wrapped in together. But the more you do it, the more you practice, the more it becomes effortless. The same way LeBron can effortlessly do a layup or a slam dunk. They make it look effortless because they've practiced it so much.
Effortless.
So it's different. It's the same concept.
Okay. So I got to talk say it from my chest a little bit more. No,
I mean, but you you automatically do, because as men, you all, that's why they like put some bass in your voice.
Well, I jump into characters when I get on the mic. It's like it's different characters. So it's like even the way the roadcaster is set up, it's already basically EQ'd and compressed to give you that radio sound. So as soon as we start talking, you sound like that. And you kind of, thank you for tuning in to the 8:00 jam session. We like
you got the technology that can help, but at the same time, because even the students that I taught that were working and that were, volunteering at the radio station, a lot of them went on to be like anchors and newscasters and working in news, and they were mass communication, so. Volunteering at the radio station, and for me it was good having a minor degree in journalism, but having a degree in English, utilizing those concepts, because even though I was not traditionally in the classroom, I still got a chance to utilize my educational skills being at the radio station, because it was my job to teach these students, yes, radio, yes, the background of jazz, but also being the best communicators in whatever field they chose. So, they would come back after they graduate, working for TV stations or, being producers and things like that, and just saying, Larissa, that really helped me just in whatever I was doing. And so for me, that was what brought joy to me, because I'm an educator at heart. So any knowledge that I have, I'm all about sharing it. It's not about, oh, look what I know. No, it's about is educating you to be the best of whatever you want to be.
Okay, so we're gonna have to have you in on a very regular scheduled program.
Awesome. I would love that.
Because that's kind of what this is about too. From really us learning from a lot of people as well, along with a lot of other people learning while we learn.
Definitely, most definitely.
Yeah, awesome. I definitely, I got so many questions and so much stuff that I want to talk about. One, because you spent time in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yes.
Along with, you're from Chicago.
Yes.
We live in LA.
Right.
Now, we have a lot to discuss, from the comparison in gang violence from LA and Chicago, to the comparison in music, to the comparison in weather, in post-pandemic, what's going on, and everything, really. And then I would like to educate Chicago and Los Angeles on what we both experienced while living in Mississippi. And
definitely.
The difference between the opportunities that are here where we live now versus in Mississippi, and things that can, that can be benefited from both sides, from people from LA, considering investing in Mississippi, from people in Chicago considering investing in Mississippi, from people in Mississippi considering moving and investing to Chicago, and people from Mississippi considering moving and investing in Los Angeles as well. Those types of open people's brain up to possibilities.
Yeah, we could talk for that's a whole bunch of episodes.
And we this is us. This is our platform. This is what it's about. This is what we do.
Awesome.
We would love to have you, in person as well. But it sounds just as great as far as from here. And whenever you let us know, we'll call you every day and do a podcast, because we got so much material and so much stuff to talk about. But I don't want to overdo it with you, but.
No,
you let us know, because we will.
Yeah,
this is nothing, and this, I'm not saying we finna bring it to an end either. No, we got as much time you got tonight to talk about. Yeah.
Oh, I'm good. So as long as you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you.
We're not closing out no time soon.
Just let me know when you're done.
No, we're not closing out. We can get to start talking about stuff right now. Okay, so.
Okay.
Los Angeles. Have you ever been to Los Angeles?
I have once. When I was working for FEMA the first time, I was deployed out there. I was working the wildfires, so I spent 3 months there. Best 3 months of my entire life to this day, because I spent Thanksgiving, my birthday, Christmas, and New Year's
what year
in
was
LA. 2008 to 2009. It was the end of 2008 going into 2009.
Okay.
And I was in Pasadena, so I spent 3 months there, and I just love California, period. I love the West Coast because even just growing up, before I even was out there, people would always either ask me, was I either from California or was I from New Orleans or like Louisiana? I always got the two. I was like, I'm from neither. So, but just over time in my life, I just got along with people that were from the West Coast. And I'm a big mountain person. I'm all about the mountains and the water and just the people. I just felt like I vibed with people from the West Coast. I've been for the longest, focusing on, settling on the West Coast, preferably, hopefully Oakland. It was Denver, but, looking at Oakland or the Bay Area, but just heading west.
You want to do Southern California, especially if you love the water. You definitely want to do Southern California.
But I also love cold weather, so that's kind of why I was looking at, Denver and things like that, because I like my snow and I like my cold. I don't like heat too much. That's why I kind of was upset upset.
You do know they got the mountains out here as well, though.
Yeah, I do.
That's
but
the big thing that they tell you can go skiing and was it surfing in the same day? Yeah.
that's even better.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So I wanted somewhere. I didn't want it to be. I wanted to be kind of a consistent, no hotter than 75 degrees, and it could be cold as it wants to be. But I just didn't want to live in heat where it was more than like 75 degrees. So I know Oakland has a good summer of 75 degrees, and the coldest that it gets is maybe like 30 or 40. It says. So I'm good with that. So
yeah, we haven't spent much time up there. My wife has family up there, or gypC has family up there, but yeah, I haven't. I've been up there maybe all of 2 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably about 2 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been out there, but my goal is to get out there and really see. But it's just that's where I want to settle. So I've just kind of been setting my mind and setting everything in that direction. But I'm allowing the ancestors to guide me. If they want me there, they'll get me there. But right now, I'm where I need to be in Chicago. So I'm good with that for now.
Yeah. So is most of your family from Chicago?
Yes, they are.
How many generations do you go back?
Well, my grandmother, she will be actually 98 in February. And she's still kicking and going strong. She acts like she's like 20 years younger than what she really is. And, when you talk to her, it's almost kind of like, I mean, she does well for herself. She can move around, take care of herself. My aunt does. We all take our turns in, taking care of her. But, she has primarily my aunt that takes care of her, but she gets around very, very good. And my eldest cousin, she's 10 years older than me, and then it's me. So we're small but mighty, and we're filled with lots of women that are very strong and independent. So it's not many men in our family, and if they are, they're very young, and they're just coming around now. One's getting ready to go to high school, and one's only about 5 years old, and there's another one it's in his early 20s, so it's not many. But we're small, but we're mighty, but we're strong, and we're united. And even though we're individuals, anytime any of us is needed for something, we're always there. But we still maintain our independence. So I come from a long line of strong, independent women.
So your elder that's 98, she was raised in Chicago?
Mm-hmm. She is the youngest of 5, and all my great aunts are no longer here. So my grandmother is the last of them. So I'm kind of like the main one of the family that always enjoys hearing stories because my grandmother is a Pisces, so she's very informative. She loves to talk, and she's a great conversationalist. I mean, she used to entertain. Her and my grandfather would entertain at their home back in the 70s. They had a bar in their basement. They'd be playing music. Folks come over in the neighborhood and entertain. So, my grandmother is very good at socialize. She's definitely a socialite.
So I learned. If you ever want to, entertain us, and when you're around her and want to record a podcast conversation with her, and she can educate us on some stuff and tell us a story. Hey, we're open for it.
She would love that. I mean, because my great-grandmother, died when she was 14. So luckily, my great aunts, her older sisters, were older than her, and so they took her under her wing. So this was back in the 20s, during the Depression and things like that. But luckily, luckily my great aunts, one of my great aunts used to dance with Duke Ellington and dance in the clubs, but all the way to being maids that were washing the clothes for the people, just making livings as best as they could. But they took care of my grandmother, and if it wasn't for them, she probably would have been in a foster home and in foster care. But they didn't let her. They didn't take her away because they stepped in and took care of her. And my grandmother took care of them in each of their every way. And I was fortunate enough I was probably one of the last ones to really get to have any type of close time with them. The rest of my cousins, other than my eldest cousin, didn't really get a chance to be around them or see them because, they had already passed on by the time they had come around. So I was probably one of the last ones to be able to spend time with, especially my Aunt Myrtle, who babysat me a lot when my mom had to work and things like that. So how she took care of me. And so I'm very grateful to have had that time. And I try to hold their, what they taught me, just their presence and sustaining that. And my grandmother being the last of them, it's interesting.
Yeah, we've been doing a little lineage tracing, and it's quite interesting what you find.
Mm-hmm.
It is quite interesting what you find in the genetics of the collective superheroes in your family.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have some super women.
I was gonna say it's a lot easier if everybody grew up in Chicago.
What'd you say?
I said it's probably a lot easier tracing it if you're all, if you all grew up in Chicago for a few generations.
Well, I mean, a lot of it has been my grandmother, over the years. She's very big on, knowing who your family is and knowing your history. So she, does her best anytime any of us are around. She, never takes the time not to tell something about somebody in our family or what she went through growing up and things like that. So, it definitely is something that needs to be recorded and put down in the book because she has a story to tell and it needs to be recorded.
Okay. Definitely. Well, yeah, just definitely let us know when you want to set something up. When you're just in your presence, you can give us a call and we'll set it up. We'll sit and enjoy it.
She would love that. Yeah. She would love that.
Yeah. So that's awesome. We're getting a lot of good things. This is episode, what is this? Episode 6?
6. Yeah.
Episode 6. So we're getting the ball rolling. We're feeling our way out through things. It's an amazing experience, even just to have the setup, and it's a brand new dream. A couple of years ago, this equipment didn't exist. The whole podcast world didn't exist. Of course, you had the radio, so that's basically kind of what this feels like at home radio. But
talk radio. Right. Yeah, talk radio.
But this is something, and you even know that a goal that I have been trying to build up to, just to have a platform to put my music out. Oh, what's funny, Larissa, I consider myself retired from music right now.
What? I don't believe it.
I street perform, but I don't really take gigs, and I haven't been doing any collaborating with artists.
What?
But I haven't even made a beat since the beginning of the year either. Girl, Hurry Up was the last song that I released. Yeah.
You got someone sitting up in there that.
Oh, it's a whole chamber and the creativity. Whenever it happens like this, it's just a build up of creativity that once I sit down and release, it's a nice wave. But it's been a complete different peace of mind not having to think about the industry.
Oh,
and, been kind of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I would say it's just, it's been on your mind for so many years. And a lot of people don't realize it, if you've been pursuing a living in, making music.
Yeah. I said, it was a hobby for me and it turned into a career. I wasn't expecting it to be where it is right now. And, you know, my experiences, I never expected that. I just saw myself playing in a symphony or in a Broadway orchestra, you know, playing in a symphony in the summertime every year, playing the French horn or playing in an orchestra at a Broadway musical or something, playing in the pit. That's what I saw. I didn't see all this playing with groups. And
I never saw myself playing in the orchestra after Jackson State. I never saw I was like, even growing up, it was like, yeah, once I get to a certain point, this shit here is going to away.
Yeah, but, you know, there's a difference between those types of musicians. You know, you have the ones that are musicians that hustle and they eat with what their music and things like that, and they don't get a check, or, you know, it's a meal-to-meal type of hustle. And for me, that just, it's not that I didn't want that. You know, for me, it was just a favorite pastime, just, you know, making my own little beats and improvising on top of it, and, you know, going and playing it for people. You know, I didn't really, you know, I got to do this and I got to be this and
You know, I didn't really learn what a producer was until I got to college. A music producer. Yeah. That's how far I was.
Your tail off.
But that's how far I was into vet.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Completely different mindset.
Right, I feel you.
But the music creativity was there, and it kind of was fired up from a cousin.
Okay.
Over some instrumental tracks that I made when I was at Power APAC.
Okay.
So it was a funny move that led to producing. But after the Kanye dropout, well, really just the Kanye whole, what a music producer. Oh, bro, you a music producer. You make beats, basically. So somebody else had to let me know that I was a music producer. Oh, that's what music producers do, I guess so. And
right.
then, you know, that's the switch came from you can't survive in organic chemistry to I changed my major to music, and my GPA went up, and I was being exempt from freshman classes because some of the stuff they were learning as freshmen, I learned it in middle school at Power APAC, at Performing Arts School.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, you know, but they didn't have the major that I wanted.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
So,
yeah, like I said, I thought I was going to be a teacher.
That's when Kanye influence was premium. College Dropout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of my favorite albums.
College Dropout. That was me.
Mm-hmm. I feel you. That's what's up. Yeah. But I mean, you are to me more than what Kanye was. Yeah, he was a producer, but you are more than just that. You sing, write, you play instruments. Like, you are more than just the beat part. Is just one little aspect to everything that encompasses you, which makes you even more remarkable and more extraordinary.
I appreciate
that. You know, yes, I give my props to Kanye, but still you encompass more. You can do more, and you play instruments in a way, and you sing and you write in a way that is the world needs to hear, because it is very unique. It is very touching. It is very moving. It's very empowering, and it's all coming from your soul, and it's honest and it's truthful. And, you know, so, you know, that he may have been the spark for you, but you are much more and far greater than that.
I appreciate it. I'm going to have to edit that part out. You're going to get me assassinated. I'm out here in LA.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not dissing Kanye or no one else. I'm just speaking about you. You know, I'm not saying, you know, whether you're better or not, but I'm just saying that you have more to offer in the industry, being so well-rounded and cultured with the instrument. You play the cello, and you play hip-hop beats with your cello. You don't see that. You know, when we had Alice Coltrane and, you know, Dorothy Ashby and things like that, you know, people playing, that's what I loved about jazz. You know, I would love to play artists that use instruments that weren't necessarily associated in jazz, like the harp and the French horn and, you know, instruments like that. You have the cello. That's awesome. You know, you have Lizzo today with the flute, you know, incorporating, you know, classical instrumentation into hip hop. So you're really keeping the roots of hip hop, because hip hop and all of that are the roots of classical music, jazz and blues and gospel and all of that. You know, that's just the topping part. So you are able to go into many realms with the music. You're not stuck in one category. You can do much. So like I said, there's no diss to Kanye, and I'm not dissing him. All I'm saying is that, yes, that's great that he was a spark for you, but it was a spark to ignite a power that is remarkable and what is carrying the future of music.
I appreciate that. I really do.
No problem. I mean, that's just real talk, just honesty. So, if they mad, tell them to come talk to me, because, it ain't about, nothing but just that's the truth.
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate it. But yeah, the music, it is there. We'll be releasing some stuff. I always keep beats coming. I try to keep the beats coming.
I know, and I always look forward to them. I can't wait till I can get on with them again. Like, I miss collaborating with you.
So yeah, I meant to ask that. What are you doing right now? As far as what kind of work do you do now?
Well, I work for FEMA right now. Yes, and I still have the radio station, Blue Wolf Radio. Still do that. So I like having the both. For me, I'm somebody that needs the left brain stimulation as well as creative stimulation, the right brain. Like, I just can't stay in one side for a long time. I need the both. So FEMA, working for the government, gives me that left brain stimulation in the challenging way that I need. And Blue Wolf Radio and the music gives me that creative outlet as well. So it's a good balance when I've worked the day trying to help people, help get them assistance with, going through a devastating, disaster, hearing people's stories and, trying to help them get assistance, and then having the music to relax and, being able to, even though it's work for that, but it's more of a relaxing work that I can just, continue the creative side to give me that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I have the similar, outlet. I need, the tech stuff. The web development gives me, the, one type of stimulation, and the photography and the video editing and things like that give me the creative outlet. So I can definitely understand the balance.
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I just, music was always that just extracurricular activity, but, my family has always taught us, to have your bread and butter. And then if you want to do the other stuff, that's fine. If that turns into your bread and butter, fine. But always have something grounded and stable that you can fall back on and still pursue what you love. So I've just kind of held on to that mentality. And, but for me, just being me, I need both.
And since we're actually talking about the radio station, go ahead and give us the more promo style information about your radio station, so people, that viewers and listeners can, listeners,
they can check you out.
Yeah, listeners can check you out.
Yeah, they can go to bluewolf.airtime.pro. It's online 24/7, predominantly jazz online radio station geared toward elevating your vibration. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's music that tells a story. I say it's predominantly jazz, and that adverb predominantly is important because it's not all jazz. It's predominantly jazz, but it's not all jazz. It's all different styles of music telling a story that's about elevating and uplifting you and inspiring you. It's about love. It's telling the story. If you think about music, especially when there's vocals, there's only two people speaking, a man and a woman, and telling the story. Every song is about a moment in time, whether it's 3 minutes, 10 minutes, however long. It's a moment in time about a particular situation, environment, whatever. So if you take a bunch of those and you line it all up together, you can create a story based off all of that. It's kind of like just a movie script. A movie script are lines, well thought out, specific dialogue, plot. There's a beginning, middle, and end. Same with the way Blue Wolf Radio is. It's an ongoing story. So no matter what time you tune into it, you're coming in as if when you turn on the TV and there's a show on, you come in on a particular scene. You're kind of getting an idea of what's going on, and depending on the scene, you can kind of know what has already gone on and what's potentially to come. So, for me, I try to, when I create the playlist, it's telling a story. So you have a whole week to hear that story. It's like having a television show and you have the whole week to catch it. So if you can't catch it in its entirety, no matter what time you come in on it, you're somewhere in the story. So you have that week, and then the next week it starts, it tells a new story. It's still continuing, but it's still telling a new story, kind of like soap operas.
That's dope. That's really
a neat
dope.
idea. How did you come up with the concept, or like what inspired that? Because again, it's about elevating the vibration. So it's about putting out a message, and music in itself has a vibrational frequency. Our ancestors, would heal before surgery. Surgery was the last thing, but you can heal somebody of sicknesses and all types of things just by the frequency of music. And, for so much of the music that is out playing that is more in the mainstream is really kind of on a low vibrational frequency, meant to keep the energy low. So that's why jazz was so tried to be outlawed, because jazz was all about vibration and waking up the people and opening that, shaking off all that stuff on the pineal gland, opening the crown chakra, allowing the spiritual messages to come down. So they, our oppressors knew that jazz had that power because jazz itself is created out of Congo Square, out of New Orleans, out of the African, the drums and the griot, the messages of being strong, and then it's, evolved into jazz. And so that's why jazz is so looked down upon and tried to be outlawed, because they knew it was healing. Music is healing, so anything above 422 megahertz, and if you think about certain music, how it makes you feel, like artists that sing about uplifting and joy has a particular sound, and then it's played in a particular key, and that particular sound and that particular key vibrating on a frequency can heal the cells within your body just on the frequency of the music. So that's why they tell you, if you're in a bad mood, listen to happy music, because that happy music is in a key that's on a vibrational frequency that opens up that energetic frequency to be uplifted. Yeah, I've definitely seen like documentaries about that, where scientists are using it to kind of heal people from like cancer and different things. I think it was like 100. It was a really high hertz, like 10,
yeah. So like even I'm sorry, I can barely hear you in the background.
Sorry. No, I was saying I've seen documentaries about how they can heal people with sounds, different frequency sounds. So I definitely believe in that.
Yeah, so, that's what I'm thinking about. And because even my mom, who's a nurse, she would play Blue Radio, with her patients. She wouldn't have it loud, but it would be turned down very low. And she was the one that kind of was like my feedback in how the music was, because, she's a phlebotomist. So these are, she draws people's blood. And, people don't like needles and stuff, whether it's kids, it don't matter, So the music of Blue Radio just playing so low in the background, they may not have known what song was on, but they could feel the frequency of what was being put out in the air from the music. So it would help calm them a lot of times. Sometimes they'd be like, well, what's that you're listening to? And my mom would pop out a card, but a lot of times, if they didn't say anything, their whole energy would, be more calming. So it made her job easier to draw blood from people, because they were already in this relaxed state that they didn't even realize that the music was creating for them. So she would able to, draw their blood and get in and get out.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of get a good response from people when I street perform about how soothing and healing the music is in the area. Sorry, I didn't say that. I mean, I wasn't talking in the mic. I was saying that I get a good response from people when I'm street performing about how, soothing the music is and how relaxing how it changes the environment and everything. Because usually when people walk through there, it's downtown LA. So I'm not sure if you've quite seen some of the clips, but it's kind of like West Jackson almost.
Is it?
well, not quite like West Jackson, but once you adapt to living in places like West Jackson and Chicago, then you're not really triggered by so many of the things that other people are triggered by.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
So, LA has been amazing for us. I could say that overall.
Good. I'm so glad.
LA has really been amazing. We lived in the Atlanta area for about 7 years, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area for about 3 years, and been out here going on 3 years. And
okay, so it has been 3 years.
Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad.
This is where we are.
Yeah, because I remember when you were in D.C. and stuff, and you were trying to make that decision of, what you're going to do. Am I going to stay here, or am I going to, take that leap to go to L.A.? And you were really kind of just really trying to decide, but you took that leap of faith, and you've been flying ever since. So I definitely commend you and your wife for, being strong and supportive of each other and just willing to agree and taking a risk like that, going out there, knowing the economy, knowing what going into it and trying to do what you're doing and have been successful in it. Dude, I aspire.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
So, kudos. I'm so happy that you were able to succeed by doing that and knowing that it was one of the best choices you ever made. So that's awesome to know and hear.
That sacrifice was worth it.
Yeah. Not knowing, but believing in God enough and being strong in your faith of each other and in God, and believing that, making this happen and whatever was going to happen or not, y'all took that leap. And, there was a leap that was well worth it.
And we're still leaping.
Right. But, leaping in faith and knowing and having, looking to God in that guidance, as to why you've been flying and being successful as you have been. And it's just getting started, just 3 years into. So, don't rush it, because if you're looking to stay having longevity, you don't want to rush it. You want to take your time and do it right and let that time pass, because if you're going to be in it for the long haul, then, take your time.
Appreciate it. We definitely will slow down, because sometimes we do feel rushed. But,
yeah, because you're in an environment of got to do this, got to do that. No, you don't.
Yeah. Constantly. From the phone to the outdoors. But I guess even when we're inside, I want to make a beat. I want to practice my cello. I want to do a podcast. I want to take some pictures. I want to shoot a video. I want to meditate. I want to work out. I want to do 1,000 things in my head.
Right, but you need to sleep. You need to rest. You need to enjoy your life, enjoy your wife, and, enjoy the time together, just enjoying you and resting. And, you need your strength. You need your energy. You need that to sustain all that. And, you're doing a lot, and it can take a toll on you. Yes, you're young and vibrant and healthy, but, if you're trying to be in the long game, you don't have to feel like you have to get it all done tomorrow.
Right. I definitely agree with that. That's why I retired.
I feel you. I definitely feel you. I feel you.
But it does feel weird to say that, because I know I stopped playing cello for 7 years and came back to it, and now it's like I'm still playing the cello, but just to keep my chops up and street performing.
Yeah,
so,
I feel you.
I can't wait to get back and go back to listening through some sounds. I came across a Instagram post the other day, and it was saying what people think music producers do, and it just had the guy sitting there jamming, and then he said actually reality, and he had him going like this, had the sounds like just going through sounds. So basically I'm looking forward to that part again. I'm just sitting there going through sounds and trying to create a sound bank of tracks of instruments to create with.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree the same way myself. I'm just now working on trying to just improve my equipment and get a new keyboard and things like that, because I, too, want to get back into, making beats and things like that. I haven't done that in a while.
Machina?
Is that, what is that?
Yeah, it's a Native Instruments. It's kind of like Oh man, it's not a, it's a controller, MIDI controller basically, but it has pads and everything, and it's not a beat. Well, it's kind of like a beat machine, but it's still it's not. My bad. Forgive my tongue getting twisted. It's not a standalone instrument. You have to have it hooked up to the computer.
Oh, okay.
So, but you can always download sounds. It's a beast. I recommend you check it out. If you mess with it, get the MK3. It's a smaller version, that upgraded though, and I think it's a little cheaper than the big boy that I got. But it's a beast. I love it. I haven't had a chance to spend enough time with it. We've been on a roller coaster ride since I've got it. I got it and my computer wasn't powerful enough to run it. And then I upgraded my computer, and then it's just life was still, had to make that learning curve to figure out how it worked, because I'm still used to like the motif and stuff. So I had to. Yeah, I'm still a motif fan. Yeah. So I had that learning curve with software producing, and I made the learning curve, and then, everything else happened. COVID happened too, but Girl Hurry Up was the last song that I released. And what's funny is that going into retirement, most of the last songs that I produced were like a cappella songs, like all vocals or just cello and vocals, but not really much machine.
Yeah, because I think one of the last ones you sent me was I Can Still Feel. Yeah,
but you haven't heard Girl Hurry Up?
Not that one. I need your
Girl Hurry
I need your latest stuff.
Yeah, it's on Spotify.
Okay.
Spotify and iTunes, yeah. And
I did a lyric
I can send it to her. But yeah, she did a lyric video too that got the wedding and stuff like that, trip to Milos, Greece. I'll send it to you.
Awesome.
But yeah, now see, like Girl Hurry Up, for me, that was where I felt good leaving off. It was almost like a fighter retiring, and it was your last fight. It was like, all right, yeah, this is cool. This is the one. This is, I'm going to leave it right here. I'm going to leave it in the ring right here with this one.
Okay.
Yeah. With this win. This is a win for me. I'm going to leave it right here. And and for that, with that song, I can put, I can put it on, listen to it, and it's a whole nother world. It's like I can that whole vibration, it's a whole mood.
Okay.
It's a wedding feel type of song.
Okay. That's sweet.
But yep, it's all cello. Actually, I played around with canon chords. So basically that's what it is.
Okay. I see you're a retired man.
I got another question.
Okay.
So this Beethoven is black rumor. Have you heard anything about it?
I've heard that. Yes, I've heard that. I can believe that. I can believe it.
Okay. Yeah. I stopped caring about I was never really strong into classical music. Even though playing it as long as I'm like I said, it was actually coming back to the cello. I realized I'm just not in love with classical music, and that was one of the things why I didn't love the cello, and that's why I don't like playing in orchestras. And that was one of the things that disconnected me from it. And I always had a bunch of questions because I'm a Pisces. I question stuff. Things didn't make sense. And that's come from my performing arts classes. That's what 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. We taking music history class, and we're talking about these great-minded, Jesus-sounding composers. We was blind and was writing symphonies and stuff on the wall, and had kids and all it. Was deaf and did all it. It was like, yo, hold up. These don't connect. This don't make sense. I got questions. But you couldn't really ask them questions like that and get real answers back then.
Right.
But I'm wondering, like, okay, why did the genius stop? As technology got better, as everything got better, we just got to a point where we was like, nah, we just gonna stick with Bach, Beethoven, and people before this as great symphony writers. And there's nobody in between these times that could have been better than these guys. Even though technology has gotten better, life has gotten better, brains have gotten better, these were the only geniuses that could have written classical music to its best.
Right, but as it relates to that, when it comes to education like that, there's still a level of propaganda. So you are picking and choosing. You have a whole institution that picks and chooses what we learn and what they want us to know as our history. So that's why it's important for us to do our own continued research with anything. You have those basics. They're trying to just give you the basics, and it's the same way of starting with Greek and Roman mythology, but never, talking about African mythology, from which Greek and Roman and so forth come from. But we always like to start at the Greek, but we always never talk rarely about the African mythology from which it all came from. So, in the same way of the classical music, starting with these particular people when we know there were more before, in between, and still are. But when they want you to know the history, a specific kind of history that fits into the narrative of a societal structure that is meant for you to operate and live in a particular way, of course, you're going to pick and choose certain ones. So, that's why it's important to study beyond that. And for me, it was like that with jazz, because when you learn in jazz, you learn about the basics: Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Dizzy Gillespie, Duke Ellington, all these people. But we know there were more before, and there's more now and more to come. That it's more than just them, So, but they just kind of want you to get an understanding of their definition of what the music means, and it's all type of stuff.
Yeah, and that was one of the main reasons why I never fell in love with classical music, and why I never liked practicing my cello growing up.
I just love the music of it, and I love the French horn because I love the way it sounded. I like being a part of this huge group of people creating this sound, because hearing a symphony live, there's nothing like it. You have 30 flutes meant to sound like one flute, and you have, a 100-piece orchestra, each section playing to sound like one, but being it live and in person and hearing those strings and the timpani and all of that, it's telling a story. And if you understand the story when you listen to the music, then kind of more appreciate what the song is about. That's why I love playing The Rite of Spring with Stravinsky, and The Heart of the Morn with Ravel, which was all about a sacrifice of this lady. The whole symphony is a story about this woman being sacrificed.
And it's
no
funny.
Lyrics.
It's like, I don't know what happened in my childhood, but something from the age of 5, I guess I just was overloaded with it from the Saturday. So that the Saturday orchestra rehearsals, Saturday morning orchestra rehearsals for 3 hours that stripped your cartoon watching, to the 2 cello lessons a week, to the performing arts school. I never really dissected the orchestra all the way down. Like I promise you, some of the best sleep ever. That's all I can say. When it comes to orchestra, or you even invite me to the symphony, my DNA from my childhood is programmed to say, yo, if you ain't going there with a fully loaded thing of coffee, we going to go to sleep. We are going. We definitely going to go to sleep. Like song number 2, we sleep. This is it's embedded
Second
in your
movement.
DNA. You better have somebody
done.
next to you who you can lay your head in their lap, because that's my mama's memory. We go back to the chamber orchestra in at the Capitol right there. And what flashed in my head, I'm me sitting there looking at the orchestra from a side point of view, because my head is in my mama's lap. I'm going to sleep.
Right.
I'm going to sleep. No, I'm not gonna last. But that's because it was an overload of orchestra.
Yeah, and for me, it was never something that I wanted as a career for myself, because, for one, kind of like you,
They was broke. I'm just playing.
when it comes to the theory aspect, like, to me, I don't even know. It was just. Luckily, my band director was someone that when he gave us our music, he would always play the song while we had the music in front of us, so we would get an idea. So that's really how I learned, like, because, telling me a quarter note and a half note and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, That's Chinese and Greek to me. I don't know what you're talking about. So luckily, the band director would play the song so I could see the parts. I was like, because I knew the fingerings of the notes for my instrument, but all them 16th notes and all that, I'm like, what is this? So hearing the song is like, oh, that's how that goes. Da, 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 da. Okay, I got it. So that always helped me, because without that, the theory and stuff, you know, that is the part that it was always struggle for me. But I was always someone that was, you know, especially now making beats and stuff, you know, I can only hear things that go with a song, like trying to figure out something. That's why I kind of just, when it comes to playing in bands that like to play cover tunes, for me, it's actually harder for me to actually hear and play what is on the song versus what I hear goes with it. So when I join a band, you know, I'm coming as the fluff. Like, I'm not the main patter. You can keep your main patter person, but I come to do the fluff and adding to what you're already doing. Right. And that's my strength. So, you know, I was just like, and that's why for me, I didn't want to continue to do so, because it was just like all that theory and stuff was just, I struggled, you know, getting an understanding with that.
Dr. Branch ruined me by saying, you can never be rich teaching music.
Well,
and he repeated it often. I mean, I'm gonna repeat this. I'm gonna say it often. You can never get rich teaching music. Like, right. All right, bro. You done said it enough. You say it one more time, I'm gonna walk out of here right now.
Exactly. Why are we here then?
Right. Because I know that's all y'all making right here is teachers.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's like, all right, I'm gonna rock this out for about another semester or two. I need that refund check, and then I'm gonna be out after I get my keyboard,
right,
and my computer.
Exactly. Actually, yeah, I bought my first keyboard with my refund check.
Better believe it. OT 7.
Right, my Yamaha is still kicking to this day.
1500.
5 tracks and all, but I made it work.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my money's worth out this college stuff.
Yes, and then some.
Yeah, but gotta love it. Shout out to Jackson State. Y'all made some real warriors. Warriors.
Yeah, most definitely. Very talented writers, you know, for the marching, and just the directors themselves, you know, knowledgeable, like Dr. Branch, you know, and Dr. Liddell. Yeah, you know, they were very knowledgeable, and, you know, even being fortunate enough to, you know, getting to watch him perform, you know, still gigging, you know.
Yeah, that's where I got my whistle technique from, Dr. Branch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
It's like, that was like a life goal growing up. It's like, I want to whistle like Dr. Branch when I grow up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely influential, but, you know, I like having my own thing, and, you know, and doing it the way that I want to. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. I don't have to stay in this particular category, you know, and I can do it how I want to do it. And that's what I love about it.
You recording in Pro Tools?
I have Audacity.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's what
But yeah, either way. Okay. So yeah, we got to get in something, you know, once I get back into the lab, then,
when you come out of retirement.
Yeah. Well, it's not even, I'm going to be in retirement. I'm going to stay in retirement. It's just, you know.
Okay. Just when you feel like it.
I'm going to do music. You know, that's
right.
I'm going to still do music. Yeah. Well, no, it's not even my own definition. Jay-Z do it. Floyd still fight. Everybody that is retired, they keep they things sharp. But, you know, if somebody's like, yo, I want you to come do a gig, I'm going to be like, nah. And that's basically, it's like I'm not stressing. I need to be there at this time, what I'm finna play and what the crowd gonna be like. And I wonder if, I was like, nah, I'm past all of that. I don't even feel, I know I can go out here to 7th and Fig. I know what the crowd gonna be like. Grateful.
That's true. You know,
that's
what works
grateful.
For you.
They just gonna be grateful. That's all I need them to be, is just grateful. And I get it.
Even better.
Yeah, I get it. So people look at it, they still look at it weird, you know, and our signage changed next week. It'll be promoting the full podcast all the time. You know, nothing about, you know, music stuff really. Just me street performing, and this is the company that I work for, American gypC Podcast. And people gonna feel weird about it. You know, they're like, wait, do you do gigs? And like, nope, I just promote this company. I get paid. You know how y'all see the people stand out here with the sign? You know, yeah, that's all I'm doing. I'm just providing pretty music while I stand out here with this sign. Go shop with this company.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I feel you.
Yeah. So, you know,
that's good.
This is the bread and butter right now. This is what we feel great doing. This is a great freedom. It's allowing us to connect with you, everybody else, or, you know, whoever want to be connected with, basically. Some people don't want to be connected with. So, but
right, and that's the problem.
We're really going to enjoy this. We're going to have this conversation often because we have a lot that we need to learn from each other, especially about everything that, you know, from history to just music that I have forgotten. I want to learn about a little bit about Audacity to see what it do compared to Pro Tools. We just got everything to roll.
Yeah, and just, you know, for me, Audacity was just one that I was, when I was at Jackson State, that's what they were using at the time. So I kind of, like I said, I was always into the engineering aspect. So, you know, I would kind of peek over and just see what we were working with and had a little hands-on experience with it. So that's why I just went to that, because I was a little familiar with the software. So more so than Pro Tools, even though I know Pro Tools is considered easy and a good one to start with. But I spent more time with Audacity, so I just went with what I kind of knew.
Is it more for composing or for recording vocals and everything else?
You can do all of that. You can record your instrumentation, your vocals. You can do everything with it, but I just mostly use it right now for recording, like my commercial spots and, you know, anything that I do with recording for the station as it relates to more so just commercial spots. I do it for now until I get the keyboard that I want and the software and all that little stuff like you have for your little studio. Then I will work in doing all of that with that. But for right now, I use it for when I cut my commercials.
Okay, so are you using your phone right now, your headphones, or are you using like your mic that you use?
Talking to you right now?
Yeah.
I'm just on my phone.
Okay. Now I was curious if you could run like through your system and use the mic. What microphone do you use to record in Audacity?
I just use the microphone built into the laptop.
Okay.
You know, I know how to use my voice. I know how the microphones work, and I know my voice. So I know how much to project or how to speak into it to give it the quality that it needs without needing to really use anything. So, you know, I just use the microphone in the laptop, and, you know, I just edit little certain things and make sure it's into the time frame that I wanted, and just getting all the little background things and the breaths and all that kind of stuff to make it smoother. But other than that, I just use the microphone on the computer, and I just know how to use my voice for it.
Okay. That's dope. We're going to have you doing voice, at least speech lessons.
I would be happy to. Yeah, most definitely. Definitely. I mean, I have listened to so many voices. I can hear when people have a lisp and a speech impediment, like, you know, just listening to people's voices and things like that. But it's just all about articulation, because people are not looking at your face. So it's all about your voice. So your voice is your face, and it is your personality. So again, people are not seeing your face, and that's the other thing. Oh, when your wife was asking about the concept of the story, before television was radio. Radio was first. So if you think about back in the 1920s, 1930s and stuff, before really television was popular, people sat around and listened to the radio. You had people creating radio shows with, you know, sound effects and, you know, the jingles and all that kind of stuff, where people in a studio creating like The Shadow and all those radio shows where people, you never saw them, but you had to tell a story with your voice, with sound effects. So that's what I'm doing with the music, except it's just music. That is usually when you watch a movie or you're listening to a show, the music is the background. But in this case, the music is at the forefront, because the whole story is the script and everything is created out of these songs.
You have to use your imagination.
Right. So when you're listening to Blue Wolf Radio, it's not just about playing music. Like I'm thinking about when it was, when there was no television, when you had to create a story and you had to create, that's where you can use your imagination, because the music and the way it's told and the way it sounds is creating a story and an imagination for you. So you're just kind of having your imagination create the visual. Yeah. So that's kind of my mentality behind it. Is it's almost kind of like, I want you to feel like you're watching television. And
that's what I want to do with the music when I do get back into it. Storytelling. I listened to some Nas and stuff the other day, and it just reminded me on how great of a storyteller he was. And I just want to, even with India.Arie, I listened to Acoustic Soul and just the stories that she's telling through her music.
That's the great thing about songwriters. They are telling a story.
Yeah.
So it's all about the story. I mean, it's a story about a moment in time, and Duke Ellington was very good at that, but I see now how he was able to write hundreds of songs, because honestly, if you go back at his music, all his songs were never no longer than like 2.5 minutes. So it's like, if you're looking at sheet music, one page of sheet music is 2 minutes long. So Duke was, had enough time to churn out a lot of different songs, because they were about a page long, probably 2 or 3 pages, because they were no longer than between 2 and 3 minutes. So it's like, oh. And, if you want to talk about a flower and how beautiful it is in the sunshine, in the summertime, in the afternoon, before you have a cup of tea, you got 2 minutes about a story about a flower as you drink tea in the sun, in the winter, whatever. Yeah. That's a moment in time.
Downtown LA is full of stories.
Yeah, from the person surfing in the ocean to the man sitting on the side of the road asking for change. Those are moments in time, and those are stories.
Yeah.
So, that's how I look at it.
Man, I can't. I know I have so many other questions and stuff to keep going, but I'm not going to hold you too long on the first go round.
That's okay. I'm fine.
Like everything on the first go round, but
right, so but it's still plenty.
It's still a lot that I have questions about. Even just dealing from, I got questions about Chicago and what's going on post-pandemic as well, because I haven't heard anything about Chicago. Actually, once I think about it, I haven't heard anything on the effects of the pandemic in Chicago. So
I mean, people, something. It's people did have to. I mean, a lot of the city was shut down, and it's still kind of shut down in a sense.
Are the gyms open?
Very. I think so, yeah, but it's like things are starting to open up now, but like the capacity of who can come in is limited, needing to wear a mask and, things like that.
So let's tap into that next time.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Yeah, let's tap into that next time. So when would you like? Well, I guess we can discuss that after we get off, as far as when we want to set up another time. But we definitely got to set up another time or schedule another time if we can.
Yeah, definitely. Right now with my work schedule, I'm really during the week, Monday through Saturday, anytime after 7, and Sundays are my off days. So.
Okay, so I know I got one. You want to have a conversation? Well, I guess, like I said, once we get off the air. So thank you again. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Thank you for the invite.
And the knowledge, and it's been just really good catching up, and even moving forward is going to be even better. So
most definitely.
Go ahead and tell them where everybody can follow you and everything, your social media, and when we're going to tell them our social media.
Definitely. Like I said, if you want to listen to the station, it's bluewolf.airtime.pro. It's online. It's 24/7. You just type in that, and it will take you right to the station. You can follow Blue Wolf Radio on IG at Blue Wolf Radio as one word. a page on Facebook as the same, and you just want to just follow me. I'm on IG and Twitter at BlueWolf3, but it's spelled BLUWOLF with the number 3 on IG and Twitter. But what's good about Twitter is that it does give the playlist of all the songs in real time. So if you don't get a chance to hear the station and you want to kind of know what songs are being played on Twitter, the songs are always being posted in the time that they're playing, so you can always see what was on there. So yeah.
That's cool. Well, we definitely appreciate you for coming in. And as always, you guys can find us on at American gypC on social, or at Luamlee for merch. Online store at luamlee.com, luamlee.com, and everything will be in the description as well. And you can find our YouTube channel. Some of these podcasts will be in video format moving forward, as well as we have a bunch of music videos and vlogs on americangypc.com. gypC spelled GYPC. What else?
GYPC. I think you faded out.
Yeah, okay. And that's all.
And that's all. We'd like to thank everybody for listening in, and we wish everybody a great night, consistent self-improvement every day in every way, and be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, subscribe. Thank you again, and good night.